Hello, and welcome back to Zenin Fanfics. Today we're starting an exciting new series. What if Deku had DND Quirk? If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe for more content. The story we're featuring is written by Lotus Moon Veil on Wattpad. You can find all the relevant links in the description, so be sure to check out the author's profile and say hello. Now let's dive into the story. Since Izuku Midoriya was 4, he hasn't had the best life. On his birthday, he found out that he would never get a quirk. They just did an x-ray and found out his pinky toes had 2 joints. They didn't do further testing, saying it wouldn't prove anything other than he's quirkless. On their way home, his father committed suicide once he found out Izuku was quirkless, and he didn't want his family to disown him. The next day at school, Izuku was withdrawn, and his friend Katsuki Kaken Bakugo bugged him to tell him. When Katsuki found out, he started to bully the poor kid. Lies of quirklessness being contagious and laws stating quirkless can be used as punching bags. Izuku was beat up on a daily basis. This went on for so long Izuku gained a high pain tolerance, learned a ton, and gained a slight hate of quirks. He lasted 10 years of torture, abuse, and burns. Izuku's mom has been his only supportive person. Of course, Izuku does his best to help his mom by getting a job and doing a lot of the chores at home. Today was his first day off in a very long time. As he surfed the internet, he found an old subreddit. On this subreddit, they talked about a game called Dungeons & Dragons. He read stories and saw lots of awesome artwork. The stories range from so silly he couldn't breathe from laughing too hard to those so sad he would have cried if he had a tear left. The artwork was breathtaking as well. Worlds of many colors, different races and classes, and the magic they drew. After a while of surfing, he found the art and story of a character called Izuku the God. This character's story was about how a kid became a god after finding the lost relics of power which hide in plain sight. The art somewhat looked like him, but in an armor set that looked like it was made of emeralds and jade. As Izuku looked it over, he made a wish that would change his destiny forever. I wish I was like these awesome characters. As those words fell from his lips, the drawing of Izuku, the god, changed from frowning to smiling. Izuku rubbed his eyes some and looked again, only to suddenly be in a giant white room with the god standing in front of him. I will grant your wish, but you must train to learn all of my powers. For now, I give you my base stats of all 20s. Your strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma are now maxed without boosting items. Izuku felt his body bulk up slightly, and he felt much healthier. The god then smiled. No pain, you're truly pure of heart. I will give you 2 more powers. For your purity, I give you ultimate spellcaster feat and artificer's envy. May you use these gifts well. Until we meet again, young god in training. Izuku was suddenly in his living room, scaring his mom. She instantly noticed he was taller, more handsome, and something powerful was in him. She was about to ask when Izuku fainted, crushing the coffee table, which survived much more than a teenager falling on it. She called the hospital and had an ambulance take him there. A couple hours later, Izuku woke up and looked around confused. When he realized where he was, confusion filled his mind, as the last thing he remembered was seeing his mom looking worried. He noticed a drink with his name on it just out of his reach. As a joke, he said, "Mage hand, I summon you." He suddenly saw a ghostly hand form, give him his drink, and then vanish after giving him a thumbs up. Inco POV, I walked into my son's hospital room with some food for when he woke up. When I saw you, I was not only awake, but drinking the water I left, I got a tad mad. How long have you been up? Also, I'm upset you got out of that bed after you collapsed. Izuku just looked at me confused. I collapsed. Did I break anything? I showed him a picture of the table, and he looked upset. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to break it. Also, I had an odd vision. With a sigh, I hugged him. It's okay, hun. Just quit working so much. I'm the parent, not you. Now, what was the vision? He told me about the vision, and I chuckled a bit. Well, someone with a teleportation quirk messed with you then. You just suddenly appeared in front of me before you collapsed. He thought a bit and looked for his phone. When he got it, he noticed his cup was warm and searched up something. Once he found what he was after, he said, Ray of Frost, target cup, purpose, cool my drink. He held up the hand, not holding his phone, and a blast of frost came out his hand. After a couple of seconds, he drank his drink happier. Okay, so I do have powers. I thought I was seeing things. Dancing lights. Give me a doctor's attention, please, by leading them here as Ball of Light. A watched Ball of Light suddenly form, and Izuku kinda danced in his hospital bed. Awesome. I don't need components for spells. I wonder what else I can do. The lights left, and I was stunned. Those spells finally clicked. Wait, you're casting spells from D&D. He nodded, and I pulled up a website I remembered from when I played in high school. I pulled up a homebrew spell I knew would help us. He looked it over and looked at the flowers in the room. Gem transformation. Target flowers in the vase. We watched as they slowly transformed into gems. The doctor walked in and was batting at the lights. Boy, you could have just hit the call nurse button instead of having these Ball of Light harass me. We both apologized and said we realized why Izuku collapsed. He was surprised since late bloomers usually have already manifested. We give them the flowers, and he takes them to be appraised by a jeweler. We leave and head home, eating our food once we got there. That's when Izuku thought of something. Mom, make a spell for me right now. I want to try if I know it's homebrew if I could still cast it. I sigh. Let's do the testing tomorrow, hon. We have the weekend off. I already called our respective bosses, and they gave us time off. He nodded, and I wrote him a simple one I called Student's Blessing. It will teach him everything about anything he wanted forever. He quickly used it, and he smiled. It works. Tomorrow I will see if I can homebrew spells. Good night, Mom. I love you. He mended the broken coffee table, then went to bed with me chuckling. My son is going to make a lot of people mad with his power. Izuku POV. I woke up the next morning and headed downstairs before Mom could. After deciding what breakfast would be, I created a new spell. Instant breakfast. Bacon, eggs, waffles, toast, coffee, and apple juice. As I finished talking, Mom walked in, and the food suddenly appeared on the table. She hugged me. Morning, my awesome son. Guessing you just made that spell. I nodded, and we began to eat. After breakfast, the dishes suddenly vanished as if they never existed. That was cool. I didn't write that in, but very useful. I watched as it got added to the spell, as it had to be written down somewhere for it to work. Mom, what's an artificer in D&D? She explained they cast magic through machines, but since I can cast any spell, that's not needed. Once she finished, I smirked. May I get even with the bullies at my school? She nodded and kissed my forehead. Sure, your father's blacksmith stuff is in the garage. Promise me you won't do anything dangerous. I nodded and quickly headed to the garage. After using Student's Blessing, I grabbed all I needed and fired up the forge. When it got hot enough, I created metal with transfiguration magic from some trash. With that all done, I smirk and get to work. I spent the day creating pieces of metal in an odd shape. Once I had roughly 1,000 pieces, I began preparing my magic. Pieces of metal molded by me, I imbue you with magic. You will become my first artificer creations. Take form, replicators. I watched as magic flowed out of my hand in the colors of the rainbows, with the pieces floating for a second before they became replicators that obey me. Tomorrow at school, I will reveal these and have fun. I wonder how many I will scare. I spent the weekend making more and more of my replicator blocks so I could have a good few. After making at least 100 blocks, I decided to create a mother/queen replicator to make them for me. With some planning done, I created a good amount of replicator blocks and created a new spell. Replicator Queen Arise, form from the blocks I made. Become my familiar and army builder. Let us both make my dreams come true. After I finished saying the spell, I watched the blocks float and come together, creating Queen Replicator. She was the size of a small dog, and the two previous replicators bowed to her. The bows made me smile. Rep A and BU2 will collect the trash littering the ground outside and public trash cans. Be stealthy. Don't want anyone to see you. I looked through a D&D handbook my mom gave me and quickly created 2 small bags of holding which I handed them. Who knew D&D had so many interesting items? I can probably create a version of this bag later. Put the trash in here, but do not overstuff them. They hold up to 500 pounds, not passing 64 cubic feet. A and B salute before rushing off to do their jobs. While they were gone, I tested the ability of the queen. I watched her climb walls, spit acid, and consume items to make more replicator blocks. She was almost perfect. The only problem is she tried to eat everything to replicate. I had to tell her multiple times to wait till the others returned to eat while I repaired the stuff she gnawed on. After a couple of hours, the duo returned running like their metal was melting. That's when I saw why they were running. Bakugo was trying to blast them, and I was laughing. They stole his backpack that he threw at them when he saw them. Throw his bag at him and hide. They heard me and did just that. As he was blinded by his bag, they hopped into a nearby trash can and temporarily dismantled themselves to hide easier. He looked around for a bit, then gave up after blasting the trash can with his quirk. Once he was gone, A and B returned and dumped out their haul. Half a ton of trash was then turned into a bunch of metal using magic, and Queen instantly started to dig in. By the time the pile was done, I literally had a giant army of replicators. It now went from A to A7. I thought a bit and created a special bag of holding that can hold infinite replicator blocks. With K, the 7 turn off, and in storage, I had the rest become a metal backpack for me to use tomorrow, as my last backpack was used to create all the bags of holding. The metal one made from the blocks did look a bit silly, but honestly I liked it. With the weekend over, I couldn't wait for school. I bet Bakugo gets a bit of deja vu when he sees them. The next morning I ate breakfast with Mom, and she saw the backpack made of the blocks. She smiled, glad I upgraded from the burned bag that I've used for a couple of years. I did the dishes and rushed to school, so I could be there early. Luckily, I was able to get into the classroom, avoiding Bakugo and his goon squad. As he walked by me to his desk, he kicked my backpack only to hurt his foot. DMN nerd, how many books are in that backpack? Got a library in there. I shook my head. Just the class stuff, Bakugo. The backpack is made of stainless steel and vibranium blend. He laughed. Looks like tin to me. You'd only be able to get that if you stole it. I smirked when he tried to grab my bag, only for it to move away. Bakugo was stunned for a little bit, as each time he reached for it, it would move away. When he stopped, it would return to where it was. His goons tried, as well, only for similar results to happen to them. Class started, and my replicator backpack gave me each book I needed when I needed them. By lunchtime, Bakugo is visibly fuming, and his palms are crackling some. Before I could stand, he grabbed my shoulder. What's with your bag, nerd? I winced in pain as his explosions burned my shoulder. This triggered my replicators for a funny result. Well, funny for me, that is. They put my bag of holding and replicator block bag in my hands as they become their original forms. Goon Squad backed away quickly as they saw the hissing metal bugs form and protect me. Bakugo recognized them. So you made the backpack thieves. I laughed and stood up. You threw it at them, and I guess they mistook your rip-off bag as trash. I started to head to the door when suddenly I heard a blast against metal behind me. What I saw made me smile more. Interesting, they formed a wall in less than a second. That's a new record. Anyways, lunchtime. I left with my replicators around me in a circle with 2 on the ceiling. Everyone avoided my replicators as Queen got onto my back and shoulder, taking my bags of holding back. I ate lunch alone and messed with my replicators. We tried many forms, and I was easily able to use them as armor. With my testing done, I headed back inside with my replicators calmed down and had them become the bag again. Bakugo was growling, and the teacher said they would do a job apprehension test, but everyone wanted to be a hero. Show of quirks except Bakugo. He says he will get into UA alone, and the rest of us are extras. Seriously, does he think he is a main character in a manga or something? Then the teacher caused the best thing possible. He said I wanted to enter UA. Bakugo instantly tried to blast my head off. Of course, he failed hard. My replicators were already defending me, and the Queen hissed at him angrily. Bakugo, don't try again. Queen is starting to hate you, and you just met her before lunch. Everyone was shocked as I glared at Bakugo. What is this SHD nerd? You've been hiding your quirk from me. I began to laugh, sounding a bit crazy. Nope, just a late bloomer, and my quirk is yet to be named. I then saw something pop up next to me. It was a floating scroll with a replicator drawn on it and a note. Quirk upgrade. Unlocked replicator king. Unsettling laugh. Race shift and class shift. I read it and watched the scroll burn up. Can I spit on him, your highness? I want to make him scream. I was stunned until I realized I understood, It was Queen talking in clear English. Don't spit. Don't need the nuclear Pomeranian getting madder. Plus your acid helps you turn metal into more of you guys. His face would be unrecognizable. Everyone quickly backed away except but Kago. He just growled. What did that metal roach say? I then realized that I can understand them. They were still talking through clicks. Queen wants to make you scream in pain, but I told her no. Also back off. I have a lot more replicators than just the ones you see here. He swung, and I ducked easily, so predictable. While Queen was hissing, I noticed that one of my replicators had snuck over to a big window and opened it. The bell rang, signaling the end of school, and I chuckled. You know what? You always tell me to take a swan dive off the roof. I'll just jump out the window. With the help of my replicators, I jumped out the window. As I fell, they became metal wings, and I flew away laughing as Queen spoke. That was interesting to see. You enjoying flying, Your Majesty. After a bit, we landed near a bridge, and all but Queen became a backpack again. This power of mine is interesting. I think I will call it Replicator King, so people will underestimate us. Queen agreed and suddenly stiffened looking at a manhole cover. Something is under that. It moves him as if to peek, then quickly closed. I smirked. Come out, sewer dweller. Queen saw you move the manhole cover. Out came a slime villain. He groaned. I was going to sneak attack you. Oh well, you're my new host. Slime for brains tried to attack me only for my pets to trap him. He was put into an airtight cage made with replicator blocks. That's when All Might showed up. Where did the villain go? I pointed to the box and kicked it. This resulted in audible cursing from the slime. My quirk is quite flexible. As he looked at a replicator block, he coughed up BLD and started to steam. Queen, block all exits. Reinforce cage. A flood of replicator blocks flew out of its bag and closed off the underpass. Even a manhole was reinforced. The steam stopped, and I saw a sickly skeleton. Don't tell anyone about this. I don't need people worrying. I walked over and popped my knuckles. I will if you keep what I'm about to do a secret. He looked worried but nodded. God's blessing, ultimate heal and boost. A green light came out of my hands and healed him. All of his old wounds vanished while he suddenly regained his muscle mass. With the healing done, I felt tired and knelt down with Queen getting a tad worried. All Might help me stand up and hugged me. Thank you so much. I can now be a full-time hero again and save people. I nodded and said, glad to help. I have multiple quirks, but I just want Replicator King to be the known one. I'm a late bloomer, and it's suddenly manifesting nearly killed me. He looked worried. You were born with your quirks, yet they didn't manifest. I nod and recall the blocks, as I have some become spider legs on the cage. Let's turn him in. If I am punished for quirk usage, will you tell my mom what happened? I asked as I sat on the giant metal spider. All Might nodded and started to walk to the police station with me. People wanted his autograph, and I had to have people back away from the cube multiple times. Queen got mad and had replicators become a ring of bug-looking suits of armor with massive shields. All Might POV, I heard the metal bug controller talk. If I'm in trouble because of the replicator knights, you're going into the bag of holding with the rest of the replicators. Then there was a flurry of clicking and hissing. I don't care you had them made to make this quicker. Quirk use in public is illegal without a license. I turn my head to see the thing he calls Queen clicking and hissing at him. I know technically you're a sentient hive mind quirk, but still rules are rules. Young Midoriya, what is it saying? All I hear is clicks and hissing. I asked kinda curious of the boy's quirks, even though they could be from All for One. Queen was arguing that she doesn't like her children being forced to hold Sludge Head anymore. And the punishment is unfair if I get in trouble, since he did try to kill me. So your quirk Replicator King is kinda explaining itself, since your quirk can make more of itself. He nods, and then winces at a flurry of clicks. She can create more. She finds it rude you call her in it. Her kids are its. All Might chuckled. I didn't mean any offense, but never talked to a sentient quirk with a gender before. Clicking and young Midoriya translates. I know I didn't teach her those words, but she said that she's never seen a airhead that inflates himself like a certain type of doll. He sounded so uncomfortable saying that I couldn't help but laugh. Don't get into an insult war with me, Queen. I've heard a lot worse, your metal cockroach. Some clicking that's nice and gentle. She says thanks for the compliment. Roaches are nearly unkillable. I sighed. I forgot about that. You win this round. If we see each other again, I will find the best insult. More clicking and a laugh. She says Bryn Airmite. We turned in the slime villain who tried to escape only for a wall of the odd pieces of the cube to stop him. Once the slime guy was in his cell, the pieces went back into his bag. Queen was clicking as the cop scolded young Midoriya. The cop got mad and tried to hit Queen with his nightstick only for her to eat it. I'm not joking. She ripped it out of his hand and ate it, making a small wooden replicator which sat on her back. Queen, they can't understand. You also, it was rude to try to talk over them. She was yelling that it was self-defense when we trapped Sludgehead. He wanted me as a bodysuit. The replicator knights were because she didn't want to risk him getting out and kill me, resulting in her and the other replicator's death. Also sorry about your nightstick, but she felt threatened. The cop sighed and left for my future friend, Detective Naomasa Tsukachi, to enter. In, I'm going to ask you some questions. I want the truth. Did you instigate the fight with that villain? No, clicking hush, they can't understand you. In, is it true you were quirkless till last Friday? Yes. I fainted shortly after getting it. And was your quirk given to you? I don't know. I had a vision that a night version of me gave it to me. And do you know of a person called All for One? Only the rumors he was alive when quirks first formed. And what is your quirk? Replicator King. And you've told the truth until now. What is your quirk? I don't fully know. I've split different aspects into different quirks. The ones I know so far are King Replicator, Ultimate Spellcaster, Artificer's Envy, Unsettling Laugh, Class Shift, and Race Shift. Also, as I unlock more of my quirk, a scroll shows up with the stuff I've unlocked. N. Sounds like D&D feats. That's what my mom said. Wait, my quirk appeared when I was looking at art from D&D players. Incoherent and rapid mumbling in. Young man, can you focus, please? Queen hits him out. Sorry and thanks, Queen. Clicking. I can't help it. I've had the habit forever when I analyze quirks and usage. And what do you think my quirk is? Most likely your quirk tells you who's lying or telling the truth. It may just be subconscious training that lets you see signs of people lying easily. Then again, you might have synesthesia, a neurological condition, which is a mix of the senses that lets you see words and color them based on tone. And amazing. You not only guessed right, but actually guessed how I know. I'm going to send you to a friend. They will give you an IQ test. Naomasa left pulling out his phone. Young Midoriya and I left the room while talking some. I got a text from Nizu saying he wanted to meet the kid. I got a taxi and told the kid to get in. When we arrived at UA, Shota Aizawa was there in his stupid sleeping bag. Hello, All Might. Nizu is in his office. Who's the runt? The kid was basically starry-eyed. Yuri Racerhead, the underground hero. You avoid media and fight basically quirkless as your base quirk stops theirs from working unless it's a mutant type. Aizawa looked stunned. How do you know my quirk? Young Midoriya blushed. I've seen a few of your battles personally, and I've watched the video of you fighting the gang. Your hair gives away when your quirk is active. Also, I bet you get dry eye since you can't blink. Aizawa nodded and got out of his sleeping bag. Impressive, I think I will. Join the meeting after all. Oh yeah, my name's Izuku Midoriya. Also, you do know there's sleeping bag suits. That got Aizawa's attention. They talked a bit as we headed to Nizu's office. Once there, Izuku looked at Nizu. Either that's Nizu or their pet. If that's Nizu, either their quirk made them an animal or they were a lab testing animal, and they became really smart. Impressive, Mr. Midoriya. So I heard your quirk is evolving and tells you when it does. He nodded and quickly dodged to the side as a WHB was launched at him as an attempt to grab him. Queen got mad and yanked the WHB out of Midnight's hand while pulling her out of the shadows. The WHB was made into another replicator with small mini whips on its back. That was my favorite WHB. A flurry of clicking filled the room, and young Midoriya sighed. Queen says you shouldn't have tried to attack me with it then. Also, thanks for WH Pilicator if I heard her correctly. Oh, I did okay, and I will do that later, plus he needs to be bigger later. The WHB was leather, iron thread, and a mix of sleep-inducing drags. Midnight nodded and backed away afraid of Queen. Nizu was amused. Such an interesting quirk. So let's do this IQ test, okay? Young Midoriya nodded and started to fill it out with what looked like a metal quill. Midnight Aizawa, and I left the room to talk. He's a young hunk. Where did you find him? I sighed. I was chasing a sludge villain, and when I hopped out of the sewer, young Midoriya had caught him in what he calls replicator blocks. He can speak to the one he calls Queen, which, as you saw, can make more replicators. Aizawa smirked. I want him in my class if he does the entrance exam. Him and Midnight argued a bit before they noticed that I wasn't deflating at all. All Might, I may be the R-rated hero, but you can leave muscle form and look normal. I won't try anything in your weakened form. I chuckled. No need to anymore. That kid healed me too. Can't say how since I promised him not to. After a couple of minutes, we heard Nizu scream. We rushed in only to see that he was looking over the test he gave young Midoriya. What's wrong? Did I fail it? Nizu shook his head. The complete opposite. You got a perfect score, which is a first. Even I missed some questions. That stunned us all, and young Midoriya dropped his quill. After a few minutes, Queen started clicking and started to stomp when he didn't reply. After a bit, she grabbed the quill and wrote on a piece of paper, "What does that mean, you bear wannabe?" Nizu snapped out of it. It means he is the smartest person in the world. Queen did what I assume is a dance before clicking to young Midoriya. Sorry, I was just stunned. Nizu's IQ is supposedly over 200, and I did better on his test, meaning my IQ is way above that. Mr. Midoriya, this will be a first. I officially accept you into Class A1 as of now. You don't need to do the entrance exam, but if you want, you could do the physical bit, Nizu said as he started to do the paperwork. Wait, what? Nizu yelled. You all heard me. Mr. Midoriya is now going to be in a 1 mech school year in 10 months. Also, why do your files say quirkless? Izuku POV. I gulped as Nizu asked me the dreaded question, why do your papers say quirkless? Before I could answer, a bright light suddenly appeared in the room and spoke. I gave him his powers. You all can call me Izuku's guardian god. After seeing a few centuries of quirkless losing heart and ending their lives, I found Izuku. His pure heart called for me, and he wished for the ability to save others. I looked at the light. You gave me my quirk. I thought I was just a late bloomer. The light chuckled. No, I blessed you with it, and I wish I did it sooner. Gotta admit, though replicator wing armor was fun to see. The light projected the scene of me jumping out the window and flying quickly out of view. My classmates looked partially sick as they looked for my body, only to find nothing. Aizawa groaned. Midnight sighed. All Might chuckled, and Nizu fell over laughing. I think I'll let my emotions take the lead then. I wonder how they will react tomorrow. The light laughed. I'm curious as well. Anyways, you can find out. Also, I should explain something. I'm a god. There are thousands of gods throughout the multiverse, so be careful. The light then vanished. I look worried. I got the notice of a god. If one likes me, there might be one who hates me. After a bit, I told the four there about what I know about my quirk, and Midnight grabbed my shoulders. Can you make me stay appealing until the day I die? I thought a bit and started to write a new spell. Once I was done, I popped my knuckles. This might hurt a bit. Also, you'll still need to live a healthy life. I just stopped aging, not anything else. Aphrodite's blessing, unaging beauty. I watched as pink smoke flew from my hands and surrounded Midnight for a couple of minutes before it ended, and I felt tired. All Might caught me as I began to fall down. Okay, 2 massive op spells a day limit. Can someone call my mom or give me a ride home other than Midnight? I've seen you drive. Aizawa laughed and said he would give me a lift. On the way home, he and I talked about cats and his life as a hero. Once we arrived, there were 2 cops at the house, and Mom was crying. I ran over to her. Mom, what's wrong? She grabbed me and cried as I found out what's going on. Apparently, my classmates thought I died and vanished out of existence. I explained what happened and admitted I was emotionally drained when I pulled the stunt. Queen ordered the replicator wing armor to reappear on me, and the cops recognized the blocks. Oh, you're the sludge catcher. I saw you walk in with All Might and the giant spider cube made of those pieces. Are they tech or an aspect of your quirk? I scratched my head, kind of both. I'm sorry for causing you guys more trouble. He laughed and left with his buddy saying, "You show up tomorrow. Make them think they are seeing a ghost. I'll update the school and the files." Mom dragged me inside and scolded me for going that far. We ate supper, and I told her I got into UA. She was proud of me, and I told her about what happened in the office. She was just as shocked about the God bit. The next day, I entered the classroom and sat down early. As people came in, they would make some sound of discomfort or fear and rush out of the room. Once the teacher came into the room, they sighed. "Hello, Midoriya. Why haven't you told anyone you flew away?" I looked upset. They kept rushing out before I could, and a few looked sick. The innocent cinnamon roll act worked as everyone entered the room. Once everyone walked in, I headed to the front of the classroom and bowed. "I am sorry about the stunt yesterday. I was emotionally drained from work and years of bullying. I just couldn't help myself." Luckily, Queen Replicator had the others become armor and flew me to the ground. I went to my chair, and we had class like normal. When lunch came, people tried to sit with me and try to become my friends. When I started to get irritated for them getting too close, Queen hissed. People backed away, and I relaxed some. "Sorry, but you guys were too close to me. I need to be able to breath." They all apologized, and we all ate lunch somewhat easily. Queen kept people from touching me when I flinched. After school, I ran home and saw Andy Mitsuki and Bakugo in the living room. "Oh, Bakugo, why weren't you at school today? You missed a test in science." I got a tackle hug from him as he rambled off apologies. He then explained his bullying was originally just to protect me from dying as a hero. He didn't mean to go so far. I forgave him, and they joined us for supper. Before supper, I went into my mini blacksmith shop in the garage and started to make something from metal. Replicators A through J collect trash, please. No stealing backpacks and other people's property, even if they throw it at you. They left, and Bakugo lit the forge for me. So they collect trash, and that's why I saw one leave a trash can. They could do a lot more, but with my quirk, I can do a lot. They're just a bit of it. Yes, Queen, some of the trash will become leather and iron for WH Pilicator. I grabbed some metal I already had and began to mess with it slowly, making it into an item for Bakugo. About half an hour later, all 10 replicators I sent out returned with all but one dumping their haul. Bakugo was stunned and looked at all the trash. "I will explain in a bit, Bakugo. Just let me get to work." I changed the giant pile into the mix of vibranium and stainless steel, then made the smaller pile into leather and iron. "Okay, explain how you're so powerful." "You literally turned trash into metal and leather." I laughed and told him that after looking at D&D stuff, I jokingly did a spell, and it worked. After that, I finished what I was making and handed it to him. He put on the gloves and looked confused. I showed him that they make his explosions more focused. Don't use these on anyone, but villains also use them for your test into UA. With them on his hands, I tinkered with them to make it a simple movement of the thumb to expand or focus the blast. "Thanks, and I will." "Wait, I thought you were applying to UA." Bakugo said, a tad confused and worried. I shrugged. "I will think about it. I'd rather not step on your big ego." "Hey." We both laughed and went upstairs for supper with Katsuki, showing Annie what I made him. "No offense, Izuku, but will it be able to handle his explosions?" I nodded. Right now, it's a mix of vibranium and iron. As his quirk gets stronger from use, I might have to change its metal mix, but I will only do as needed for it. If I use a mix that absorbs about 50% of his blast now, it would just be a small firecracker. After they left, I headed back to the garage to see Queen still eating. Starting tomorrow after school, I will start to clean up a beach. That way I do a good deed, strengthen my body, and increase how many spells I can do a day. Queen asked, "Can I make more replicators? Might be able to make a battleship with enough." I laughed softly. "Sure, but what will be the ammo?" In her own way, she gave me a seriously look. "Well, you guys could be used as ammo." "Well, I'll make the beach stuff into wood once I've moved it, and such for floating replicators. I'm thinking wood enhanced with vibranium and a thin coat of natural LTX from the aloe plant." My mom chuckled. "Sounds like you're planning world domination." I shook my head. "Nope. Maybe a good vacation for us both. Could make a second queen and place her at a magma vent eating lava rocks until she creates a replicator island. There can only be one queen, you." If you make another, there will be a war. Mom looked at me for a translation, so I sighed. She said only one queen can exist, or there will be a war. Maybe a princess, then. Okay, I get it. Only we can make the blocks. No need to scream. Mom laughed, and we both went to bed. The next day after school, I headed to the beach and started to clean it up without any trouble. I found an old fridge which could easily weigh 200 pounds and was able to lift it with one hand easily. Once I discovered that I just sorted and stacked stuff up so I can convert them all and feed them Go Queen. By the time I was done, I made sure no one was watching and tried to lift up a stack on a plate of replicator blocks. I struggled to lift it for a few seconds, then I was slowly able to lift it up. While I lifted it up, I realized that my body was getting more and more muscular. Even though I was mostly using my arms and my shirt sleeves were ripping, so were the legs of my pants. I kept lifting and moved under the plate of trash. When I got fully under it, I did squats until I got bored of it an hour later. By that time, the replicators I had become accustomed to look for glass shards was done and made a good size pile. After figuring how much there was, I came up with an idea. Queen think a replicator base weapon would be useful. Might have to use a slight bit of magic to unify and undo the blade, but that's it. Queen looked up at me. What are you thinking? I smirked as I pointed to the glass. The replicator weapon will be a handle full of replicator pieces with a replicator block bag of holding. Some pieces are special unbreakable glass, and the rest are the regular metal ones. Queen did her equivalent of a nod, and I began to turn the glass into special glass and had her convert it. Once that was done, I changed the trash over and waited. It took an hour for her to convert it all, but by then I had fixed my clothing to fit me and got my new measurements. I went up 3 sizes in everything, which sucks because they will cost a ton to buy, and I didn't want to drain my savings. With all the pieces made, I headed home with Queen now, alone having to be my backpack. I know you became bigger to not have to constantly control other replicators when in backpack mode, but now people think I am crazy talking to a clicking backpack. Queen hissed. They insult, I attack. I groaned. You can't just attack people. I want to be a hero, not a thug. She huffed and stayed quiet. I chuckled and got home. Hey, Mom, I already cleaned off the beach and I need more clothes. I accidentally gained a lot of muscles. When she looked at me, she sputtered a bit. You're also a good bit taller. You're almost as tall as your dad. I nodded and went up to my room to grab all my clothes. Queen sent out a group to collect town's trash again. Need the matter for my clothes and school uniform. Mama would make a new item, avoid the garage. With that said, I spent the night making the handle for the replicator weapon. Once I finished it, I fixed my clothes and took a shower. When I came down, I created breakfast again and ate early with Mom walking in as I finished my half. Wow, you're up early. I blush. I didn't sleep, actually. It took me a while to fit the clothes and uniform properly. Mom sighed and called the school, saying I wasn't coming in due to another Quirk incident. Up to bed, mister. You will sleep today and tonight, then go to school tomorrow. If Katsuki shows up after school, do not show him whatever you made. I got a call yesterday from Izuku saying he blew a hole in the wall. I nod and head up to bed tired. Queen walked in and tapped me. Don't you have school? Get up, MSTR. I look at her. Mom called in so I don't have to go to school. Let me sleep, okay? Queen smirked in her own way. Want me to go instead of you? I take notes and everything for you. Well, not your homework. You got to do that. I sighed and told Mom Queen's idea. Mom was against it until I created a version of a wireless camera and screen. After a while of testing with using it to control Queen, wirelessly Mom agreed. She went to school for me as a replicator knight as she collected some spare replicator blocks to become bigger. She flew there and walked into the classroom. When the teacher saw her, he groaned. Izuku, you're sick. Go rest. I chuckled. I am. This is Queen in replicator knight form. I'm using special camera and screen combos to talk. I'll be doing the schoolwork through Queen. Oh, and please don't irritate her. She won't give you lifts or pieces of her body. Mom went to work, and I did my long-distance school day. It was nice, except I had to translate Queen often. I had to censor a couple of them, especially when 2 of the more liberal girls invited me to a non-existent pool party. Queen called them lying SLTS with a lot of extra bits. During lunch, she stayed in the classroom, and so did Katsuki. At the end of the day, Queen flew home, and I took a nap until supper. When supper came, I woke up to Queen carrying it up to me. I may be a king of replicators, but I don't servants or grunts. I always ask if they want it for a reason. The reason is because I want friends. Queen laughed. I understand, but you need to give us voice boxes or speakers of some sort. I nodded and ate supper. I slept that night and went to school with Queen back in bug mode. At the end of the day, Izawa drove up to the school. Midoriya, we need to talk, and so does the one you met first. I nodded and we drove off. I wonder what All Might and Izawa want to talk about. When Izawa got me to UA, he woke me up and we headed to Nisa's office. All Might was truly smiling, Nezzy was drinking tea, and Midnight tried to grab me with her new WHB. WHIKator caught hers and grabbed her before dragging her away. Why is she always here? Did she not learn from the first time? I was annoyed as WH Polikator returned a bit later and jumped into the bag. Nisa laughed. She is one of the best poetry and music teachers available. Now I want you to be a dual classer. One of the first. You will spend morning in support and afternoons in hero training. The first day will be the reverse, since Izawa hates the opening ceremony. I nodded and Queen clicked some. Be nice, Queen. Just because I'm being asked to do support doesn't mean they think we are weak. I began to tinker as All Might walked over. Also, I want you to be my successor, the next holder of my quirk. I finished and gave what I made to Queen. What do you mean by making King the next holder of your quirk? All Might, Nizu, and Izawa backed away slightly as Queen spoke. I'm guessing All Might's quirk can be passed on to another person similar to how an artificer can boost someone else's gear. All Might nodded. Yes, but do you accept my power? That's when my guardian god showed up. All Might, I am sorry, but your quirk will hinder the powers I gave him. His powers are based on his DNA, and if yours and the previous holder's DNA enter his body, it'll screw them up. I then thought of something. Guardian, what if I become a changeling, then take his quirk? The changeling rearranges his DNA to look like other people, so maybe... Guardian laughed. You are a clever boy. That is the only loophole, but only your changeling form will be able to use his quirk. I used race change and became a changeling. Everyone watched shocked as my skin turned gray and my hair was snow white. That's when Midnight walked in and screamed. I smirked and became her, clothing and all. She tried to hit me with her WHB, but I caught it and yanked it from her. Hello, you slut. How about you kneel to the real queens of Japan? Nizu was laughing like a madman. Izawa looked amused. All Might was chuckling, and Midnight knelt. I changed to look like my old self and tossed her back her WHB. Midnight, it's best you leave the room. We aren't done talking. She walked over and whispered, if we ever date, I hope that night we continue this. I blushed as she walked out with a smirk. Once she was gone, I accepted All Might's quirk. For the next couple days, I trained with it and mastered it. I then spent the next few months training and building some simple stuff board. I woke up to Queen acting like an alarm clock on the day of the test. If you thought the regular beeping alarms were annoying, you'd be mistaken. She was screaming through a megaphone she made from replicator blocks. Wake up, King. It's time for the test. Get OIT of bed. Hurry up before I bite you. After about the second loop, I punched her across the room and stood up. I looked at my hand stunned when I saw I had made replicator blocks coat my fist when I punched her. This will be interesting. I can control blocks directly now. I focused a bit and made myself a hoverboard. Not the real thing, just the rip-off wheeled thing from the 2010s. After being happy with my ability, I rode it to the bathroom, showered, got dressed, had it change wheels for legs, went downstairs, reformed the wheels, and headed to the kitchen. Mom laughed. Nice to see you're still creative, but I don't want you to be lazy. I explained what I just figured out, and she congratulated me before giving me my breakfast. After that, I walked to UA and looked over the paperwork, ignoring the people looking at me and Queen. Bakugo saw me and talked to me. Hey, Izuku, ready for the test? I nodded and headed off. Go to do the support class test, then the hero test. Have fun with the written test. After searching for an hour, I found the room. I went in, got a number, and ended up waiting to show off my replicator handles. And if it's accept, I will then have to build something FO boost a random hero, which will be given to me. The last 3 people in front of me had their creations fail. When Power Loader saw Queen, he backed away, and she clicked happily. So numbed 42,069, what do you have to offer? Other than that bug. Queen hissed, I am Queen Replicator. I'm not a simple bug you human backhoe. I glared at Queen. Be nice, he's going to be our teacher if we pass, and you do look bug-like, so you can't be mad. Sorry about Queen. She's part of my quirk, and she's very vocal. Power Loader nodded. So what did you bring other than Queen Replicator? I pulled out 2 handles and a small box. I tossed the box to the side, and it exploded, coating the dummy. I tossed it out in ropes, replicator blocks, slime, and a few other binding agents, so whoever the box catches can't escape no matter what quirk they have. That impressed Power Loader, and he pointed to the handles. What are these? I picked them up and headed to a weapons area. Tell me what weapons you want me to use on each target. He laughed. Crossbow, gun, tomahawk, and sword. As he spoke, the weapon one handle would become it, and I would use it. I shot a few crossbow bolts at a dummy, shot down a flying target with my gun, and tossed one handle into a barrel as a tomahawk, which returned to my hand after doing damage. With a smirk, I formed 2 broadswords and single-handed wielded them as I sliced up a giant target, making them fall apart easily. These handles use my quirk to make the weapons. The ammo is created with energy. Power Loader was stunned and said, You're in, bud. I'll see you Monday morning. I chuckled. I also have to do the hero test. Nizu wants me to dual class. If I get in heroes class, I'll see you Monday afternoon. I rushed off and headed to the hero test, getting there as Present Mike was explaining the bots bit of the test. Some blue-haired teenager was complaining about the pamphlet being wrong and then at me for being late. Queen formed a megaphone again. Shut up, blue hair. King was doing the support class test, as ordered by Principal Nizu himself. Now sit down and shut up. Yo Cockatoo. Sorry for being late. A lot of people was ahead of King, and please continue about the 4th bot and its status. Present Mike yelled. Back. Thank you, Queen Replicator. Now how about you turn to a backpack and shut your clickers? I grabbed the megaphone. Be nice, she might summon another swarm. I then headed to my seat and sat down for the last of the meeting until it was physical test time. I got onto the bus and headed to my test site and smirked as I talked to Queen. Should I do close or ranged? Close and speed. Maybe also bomb arrows. I nodded and set up a handle as a giant sword and crossbow. Right when the doors opened, I rushed in forming replicator flight armor. I jumped up and started to blast bits of the bots away suddenly. Follow that, bug boy. There's no countdown in real life. I chuckled and let them find some bots as I send out a flood of replicators. As bots are destroyed, they are consumed, and buildings are repaired as people move away from them. After a while, I decide to have more fun creating giant replicators, which just straight up fight some bots while forming around people, putting them onto their backs. That's when the 0-pointer showed up. I was about to help people evacuate when I saw a person pinned under the rubble caused by the giant bot. Mega Replicator stopped the 0. I flew down to the rubble and used spare replicators to move it before having them drag her away. Once she was gone, I smirked and jumped on a Mega Replicator and have it launch me at the 0-pointer's head. As I fly over, I swing 2 giant sword around, slicing off the armor off its arms, chest, and face before I suddenly activate a new ability. The scroll says, Replicator Morph. Become a giant human form replicator. I smirk. Queen, activate Replicator Morph. What happens next in a couple of seconds is fun. For me, that is. Replicator blocks, and I fuse together, creating a giant replicator looking like a person. Because I had my replicators eat so many fallen robots, I was taller than the 0-pointer. Time for my lunch. I literally tossed the giant robot into the air and swallowed it whole. After a few seconds, it was converted, and I returned to my regular changeling body. With the 0-pointer gone, I sent out a wave of healer replicators to heal any injured and to repair the damaged buildings. By the time Recovery Girl came out to heal people, it was done, and she saw a few replicators fixing damaged clothes. I avoided her giant needle cane and sighed. Sorry, Recovery Girl, you know how I am. You can still pass out candy, though, and you can go to another site to heal the others quicker. She sighed, then laughed. Can you create a lift for me? I nodded, and a replicator formed with a seat for her. Once she sat on it, it formed a steering wheel and pedals. Have fun driving Recovery Girl. It also has some healers and others to help pass out candy in it. She smirked and nodded. Let's burn our BB. She was then gone. Everyone suddenly had candy in their hands, and you just see a trail of smoke climbing up a nearby wall. Queen and I look at each other. I think I messed up Queen. All she did was nod and sigh. I reformed the flight armor and followed her. Honestly, I might have given her giant replicator transport too much speed. I had to fly ahead of her and signal it to slow down as I moved people out of the way as a lot were injured here. Recovery Girl and I spent the next hour healing all the people and me making sure she slows down when she is halfway down the wall into the next site. When we finished, I got her to her office and took back the replicators. She understood. I kind of went speed demon on the one you gave me. Sorry about that, but I enjoyed that ride. See you Monday if you get hurt. I chuckled and headed home as I popped my back. Queen was currently napping in the bag of holding, so I had some peace and quiet. Once I got home, I ate supper and went to bed where I slept soundly. Today was bonkers. I groaned as I punched Queen again and sat up. I know you like being my alarm clock, but I'm not in the mood to get more disturbing the peace tickets. Seriously, if I get one more ticket for it, I am removing your speech cube. She nodded and ran off to do something. I headed downstairs and ate my lunch because I slept in. The test was literally yesterday, and using a lot of magic tired me out. As I finished eating my sandwich, I turned on the TV to see a video of me in giant human replicator form eating the 0-pointer on the news. This made me worried as the giant form is just me a lot bigger. When the clip ended, the news reporter claimed I was a villain attacking UA, destroying its property, and should I be seen, I will be immediately arrested. I groaned and called Nizu. You have a leak or someone snuck onto the school grounds. There's a clip of me eating the 0-pointer on the news. I told him a bit irritated. Nizu chuckled. Don't heroes in training usually want the spotlight to themselves? What's wrong with it? I growled, oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because they said I was a villain. There was silence for a bit before I heard windows breaking, a flurry of cuss words, and present Mike screaming like a beach. The call then ended, and about 5 minutes later, the news channel apologized that their man got the story wrong. Once I was done, I decided to change up my look some. I made my hair the same color as the metal replicator pieces, made my freckles shine some, turned my eyes a deep blue, and made myself a little bit shorter and less muscular looking. Happy with my new look, I sent a picture of it to Mom and Katsuki saying, I'm going to look like this for a bit. The news called me a villain, then retracted it about 10 minutes later. You know, most won't believe it. Once they both said, okay, I headed out to get some air. Walking down the street, nothing major happened until some idiots saw Queen on my shoulder. It's the big villain. Someone get him. I face-palmed as Kimui Woods trapped me in his lacquer cage. Once he was sure I was trapped, I just sat there and said, just call Niza, please. He will straighten all this BS. He laughed and took me to jail. Once I got to the prison and in a quirk dampening cell, everyone looked stunned. Nothing was happening to Queen, so I decided to mess with them some. My skin slowly turned to its new natural gray color. My hair lost its shine, and I grew more muscular while Queen began to call pieces from the replicator bag to make herself bigger. This made all of the police freak out, as instead of us getting weaker, we were getting stronger. This made them call the riot squad to guard me. When Nizu arrived an hour later, all he had to say was boo to scare any of my guards. I was now 8 foot tall, had replicator blocks slowly covering me, and Queen was the size of a horse. Midoriya, quit messing with the police. I know this stuff doesn't mess with your quirk. I sighed and returned to the look I chose this morning. You had to ruin the fun. I was going to form claws and roar at them. I then decided to try out my unsettling laugh. The results were perfect. The riot squad literally dropped their stuff and ran screaming. Nizu joined in as it was funny. Once we stopped laughing, we left the police department and headed to UA. As we walked there, I gave him an idea. Since some quirks or powers will be seen as villainous, maybe a dorm system would be best, also much more security. With the plan fully talked about, he agreed and began to set up the dorm system and more. On my way home, I ran back into Kamui Woods. When he tried to catch me again, I allowed Queen to eat the branches he grew. As he kept trying, all he did was allow Queen to make a ton of Wooden replicators. Once he realized what was going on, he panicked. I had them trap him and rolled him around some before we released him. That is for imprisoning me under false pretenses and for trying to do it again. I left with my replicators, leaving behind a barfing hero. By the time I got home, there was a line of idiotic barfing heroes. All Might, Aizawa, and my mom are waiting for me. Young Midoriya, why is there a line of barfing heroes? I sighed. Kimui Woods falsely arrested me, then tried again. The others then tried, so I made hamster ball around them and rolled them around until they gave up. What I don't get is that when I was with Nizu, they didn't attack me. That final bit made All Might and Aizawa furious. They said they would look into it, and both left in a huff. Mom sighed before suddenly getting an evil grin. Izuku, how about you, and I make some more homebrew spells and items? I walked in and spent hours making a collection of prank spells to use on heroes who attack me tomorrow. I might have to make a villain persona for tomorrow for when I prank stupid heroes just in it for fame and money. After a good night of sleep, I decide to create a villain version of me. Using my new changeling body, I created a new look just to mess with people. My new look was based on an ancient cartoon series called Street Sharks. I turned into a black so dark it kind of looked like I was a mess up in Photoshop. I made my teeth jaw and claws into metal, and I made sure to increase my muscle mass as I became a great white shark human hybrid. With my look decided on, I showed Mom. She liked it, but had me add some neon green markings to make glow when roaring. With that all set up, I used a warping spell to end up in the center of town way up in the air. As I came down, I roared and ate a tunnel into the ground. As I dug around, I made sure to avoid the plumbing and wiring underground. After some digging, I found some villains' underground base. I found a small girl, and after calming her down, I looked them over. She was covered in scars, bloody wounds, and she was so skinny it was obvious she was malnourished. What's your name, little girl? She sniffled. I'm Eri. Are you one of Overhaul's men? I shook my head and motioned her to stay quiet. I quickly healed her and headed through the tunnels. As I explored, I found an old man on life support and quickly healed him as well. He was about to freak out until Eri tackled him. Grandpa, you're finally okay. He chuckled, and I motioned for him and Eri to follow me out. As I dug a way out, Overhaul showed up. Chisaki, what have you done to me and Eri? My name is Overhaul, now old man. I'm going to erase quirks using Eri's BLD, now, this time you die. I heard an odd noise and someone coughing up BLD. Mysterious savior, protect Eri. I give you my blessing to raise her. Please save my granddaughter from this madman. I turned and saw from the wall around Overhaul's hand spikes had speared the old man. With a growl, I pulled out my replicator bag. Queen, it's time for a feast. Activate the Naquata Swarm. Out came a bunch of glowing replicators, but these one's pieces are triangles and much sharper. One cut the spikes as I re-healed the old man, while the rest attacked Overhaul and his goons. I quickly got him and Eri out of the basement and pointed him in the direction of the police station. As they headed that way, Overhaul popped out of the ground and completely eviscerated the old man. Eri screamed, and I reverted to my real look as a changeling. What did you just do, Overhaul? Overhaul growled. I just killed an obstacle between me and erasing all quirks. You're the next one. He sent spikes at me only for my Naquata Swarm to chop them down. That's when Queen crawled out of my bag and yelled, Okay, Plague Doc wannabe. You now go to pay. Babies. The replicator blocks of all my swarms, the basics like Queen, the Wooden Lacquer Swarm, Whiplicator Squadron, and one of my newer creation, the Elementals. The Elementals are literally made of fire, water, earth, and air. After a couple of minutes of them distracting Overhaul, I got my wits together and decided to be very showy. Elemental formation. The wind blows, fire burns, the rain falls, and the earth crumbles. As I said that phrase, the elementals formed a ring around me, and a beam of light surrounded me. Once the light vanished, I stood there as a being of pure energy. I walked over to Overhaul, absorbing every spike, bullet, and his minions. Yes, the heartless BSDRD used his own henchmen as weapons against me. Now I am beyond furious, and this BSDRD will pay. With a swipe of my hand, I cut off both of his hands and cauterized the cuts. You dislike quirks so much, I will grant your longing. How about a peek at what you want? I then hit him with a vision of a nightmare world where everything collapsed since quirks are now the base of our civilization. The nightmare caused him to pass out while I stayed as an energy entity for a while. I motioned for Eri to sit still as I stood ready for any trickery that might happen. After half an hour, the police arrived and freaked out when they saw me as energy and playing tic-tac-toe with Eri. When the living lie detector walked over to me, I sighed. Hello again, truth detector. I never learned your name, but I know your quirk. The truth is I was planning to prank some heroes since they kept attacking me yesterday. Instead, I found an underground base where they tortured this girl using her BLD for something. I then found her grandpa. I healed him only for this plague, Dr. Wannabe, to make him into a puddle. That's when I made myself into energy, let him see the future he was working towards, and remove his hands so he's quirkless. After a few hours of questioning and me helping officers beat what was left of Overhaul's gang, I took Eri home with me. Mom was happy to help take care of her as I slowly became flesh and BLD again. Mr. Lightbulb, what will you do to me? Eri asked once I was done changing back. I chuckled. My name is Izuku, and I'll be taking care of you. It was her grandpa's final wish. As I said that, Mom pulled me away. Why didn't you revive him? There are resurrection spells. I sighed and shook my head. I can only resurrect those wanting to return. Plus his body was completely destroyed. I need at least a hand. She looked sad until Eri walked over and hugged my leg. Izuku, can we play some? I was never taught how. I quickly grabbed my replicator bag. Hey, Z4, collect trash for me. Let's make Eri some stuff. Queen got onto my shoulder. Hello, Eri. I am Queen Replicator. I make the others you see flying out of the bag. Eri was watching in awe until Queen to her. I knelt down so she could see Queen better. So you're kind of their mommy. Queen laughed. I guess so. I'm their creator and queen. Izuku is the king as he created me. Eri smiled more. Does that mean Izuku is royalty? I shook my head. No, sweetie. It's just an honorary title since I made them. I headed to the garage as some replicators returned. Eri followed me as I turned the first batch of trash out of plain cotton fabric. Once I got a good few skeins of fabric, I saw Eri playing tag with a few replicators. She was having fun as she ran from and at them as they began to get bigger and become humanoid as multiple replicators became one person. Mom walked in. Eri, come here, please. I need to measure you for clothes, okay? Eri ran over and let her. Once Mom got the measurements needed, she gave me the clothing sizes before, running off for the undergarments. I let her play with the replicators until I hear her stomach growl. Once I heard that, I instantly turned around and knelt down. Eri, how about we get lunch, okay? Eri looked confused. What's lunch? I already had my meal. That set me off. I motioned Eri to follow as I headed to the kitchen. When we go there, I had a few replicator blocks become a high chair with spider legs to move her around so she could watch. I made some scrambled eggs, bacon, and toast. She watched as I made everything using 2 replicator handles. She watched in awe as I would flip bacon, then whisk eggs with the parts switching out as I would butter toast and cut it with the other. I fed her as Mom returned to Eri eating in a high chair that was moving around the kitchen to set her at the table. Mom laughed, and we all ate lunch as the rest of the replicators arrived and returned to the bag. I did the dishes and got back to making Eri some clothes and toys. By supper time, she had a full wardrobe, a couple chests of toys, some puzzles, and I had drawings for self-defense gear for Eri. Then Eri came flying through the garage door and hugged my leg. Daddy, it's time for supper. I knelt down and looked at her. So, I'm guessing you want me to adopt you. Eri nodded as Mom came in. She already calls me Grandma, so why not? I nodded and picked up Eri. Okay, after school tomorrow I will get the paperwork done, okay? Eri nodded, and the god who gave me powers popped up. I quickly bowed. Good evening, Guardian. How may I be of service? He laughed. Actually, I was here to help you out. I looked confused until both Eri and I got scrolls. She got the same abilities as me, but Replicator Princess. I looked at mine, and I have 2 new things. Quirk Collector and Savior's Blessing. I looked them both over and Eri looked at her scroll confused. Daddy, what's this floating thing? I chuckled. It's a new core for you, sweetie. You got the same as me. As you gain use and mastery of the ones you have already. For example, you can command all replicators other than Queen. She tried it out and clapped as she had them become different animals and such. Thank you, Guardian. I will use these gifts and train Eri to use hers. Guardian chuckled, then vanished. Over supper, I explained what Guardian was and her new quirk as I looked my scroll over with a ton of quirks under Quirk Collector. It seems every quirk I've seen used or been within a mile of. Tomorrow at school shall be interesting as hell. I called Nizu and explained what happened, and he said the paperwork would be ready after hero class. I can bring Eri. He and a few other heroes would tutor her some, and he was worried how our bodies will handle multiple quirks beyond feats. I set up a hammock for Eri with some extra soft cotton fabric stuffed full of memory foam, creating a plush soft hammock. I then had replicator blocks hold up her hammock in my room before we both went to sleep. Good night, Daddy. Good night, my snowball princess. Unlocked feats. King Replicator. Lets Izuku control Replicator and their blocks. Also lets him speak to Queen without a translator block. Ultimate Spellcaster. Can cast any spell/cantrip without materials, vocalization, or hand motions. Also unlimited spell slots. Artificer's Envy. Can make anything mechanical or magical without any problem. Even can create homebrew stuff. Unsettling Laugh. Izuku can laugh in a way to make all who hear it fear him. Only those mentally warped are immune. Best example of immunity is Nizu. Class Shift. Lets Izuku become any class from D&D. Currently an artificer, but can become a ranger, fighter, monk, etc. whenever he desires. Race Shift. Izuku can shift between any D&D race, including homebrew races. Currently a changeling due to One for All. Replicator Morph. Become a giant human form replicator. Savior's Blessing. When saving others, you can heal those you're helping, undoing any injuries as they form. Quirk Collector. Gain a copy of any quirk you've been within a mile of. This feat is very dangerous, as you gain that quirk's drawback unless you figure out how to remove them. I smirk and punch Queen into the air right before she becomes an alarm. Got you this time, Roach Queen. Now for now, I'll be gentle with your wake-up calls. We have a young princess here. She growled as she reformed on the ground. Dirty Trick King. I thought you were still asleep. I laughed and stuck out my tongue before I gently woke up Eri. Eri, time to get up. We have to go to school. She slowly woke up and went to shower and get dressed. I headed downstairs, summoned breakfast, and got my mom up for work. After I got mom up, Eri came down to eat. I showered and ate as well. I put Eri on my back and remade the cheap 2010s hoverboard thing. Hang on tight, Eri. This is going to be fast and fun. Replicator blocks wrapped around us, so I couldn't accidentally drop her. With Eri secure, we took off. Of course, people were stunned when I had the replicator board, as I'm now calling it, launch over the road, walk on walls, hang from the underside of the overpasses as we headed straight to UA. People recorded what I was doing as Eri was laughing and screaming as she enjoyed it. Once we arrived at UA, I dropped her off at Nizu's office, signed the adoption papers cause why not, and headed to A1. I, of course, left Eri some replicators, which numbers are almost always growing. I left her AZ, WH Pelicator Squad, Elemental Set A, and Lacquer Platoon A. As I walked to A1, I spoke to Queen. Of course, it ended up an argument, as she didn't want another Queen to exist. In the classroom, I waved to Aizawa and headed to my seat saying, "Fine, Queen, we will talk about this later. If Eri makes a replicator king or queen of her own, I'm not destroying it. Neither are you, so don't think of it." Queen clicked angrily but sighed. "Fine, but if she makes both, one must die. Only one per person deal." I nodded and watched as the rest of my class walked in. Bakugo and the blue-haired dude came in first. Bakugo nodded to me and sat at his seat with his feet up. Before Blue Hair could berate him, I said, "Don't even start at Blue Hair. He won't listen to you. Katsuki, feet down please, or you'll get a desk made of replicators." His feet were down instantly, since he knows they will pinch or hit him at a moment's notice. Blue Hair bowed to me at a perfect 90 degrees. "Great, he's a private school kid. Thank you for having him set his feet down. Also, I'm sorry for yelling at you on Friday. I should have expected you would have had a reason to be late. I stopped him before he could talk anymore. It's fine, just please stop raising your voice. I had to give my daughter a ride to school on a replicator board, and she screamed as she enjoyed it. Before you start a tirade about it, she is adopted. I saved her yesterday from a villain. The rest of the class came in and was chatting before Eri came running in with her replicator squads on and behind her defending her. Daddy, big scary monster. I quickly hugged her and looked at the monster. I nearly busted out laughing when I saw it was just how the canine hero. Princess, he is not a monster, sweetie. He is a hero. His name is Hound, and his quirk makes him part dog. He may howl when excited, but he's a nice guy, I promise. I trained with him before I saved you. Eri still looked scared, and I sighed. Aizawa, may I have Eri stay with me today? I think it'll take a bit for her to adjust to good people. He sat up in his yellow, sleeping bag, scaring the girls. Fine. Just make sure she doesn't mess with the quirk apprehension test. I nodded as he tossed us all gym uniforms and quickly equipped mine, like in video games of D&D. Eri pouted some and I couldn't help but laugh. Got a spare Aizawa. I'll resize it for her. Nizu came up the hallway panting. There you are, Eri. Sorry, I should have warned you about Hound. Eri hugged him as I began to mess with the uniform to resize it. It's okay, Nizu. You didn't know how I would react. I handed her the uniform, and she equipped it like I did. This made Blue Hair curious and demanding. Okay, explain. You said you adopted her. How do you both have the same quirks by the look of it? I groaned and Eri glared. Look, Blue Meanie. Daddy saved me, and Guardian blessed me. Now to go bully someone else. Guardian. I chuckled. I'm not explaining him. Get changed or Aizawa may expel you. He did expel an entire class. I picked up Eri and formed the replicator board stuff, taking off. By the time they all got to the testing area, Eri and I were using a water control quirk to pass a ball of water elemental replicator blocks around. They were stunned to see the blocks floating, but they stayed quiet as Aizawa tossed me a softball after explaining the test. I caught it and went to circle. Can I just use 1% of what I have? I don't want to go all out yet. He sighed. Do 1% then all out. I'm curious. I nodded and sighed. Everyone please stay behind the barrier. A wall of my special glass replicator blocks formed before them. That's when a scroll showed up for Eri and I. We read it and smiled as I said, Battlefield freeze. Ultimate protection. A glow of gold covered everyone and everything all over town and further. I then popped my shoulder and said, Elemental formation. The wind blows, fire burns, the rain falls, and the earth crumbles. Elemental replicator ring formed as I became energy again. After that I said, Collector, activate all. My body of energy began to morph, some becoming bigger and stronger. I then spit at the ball a tower of replicators. The ball just vanished. The machine it was attached to said, Error, too much info. Everyone was silent except Eri, who did the same thing as me. Once she mimicked me, she hugged me. I chuckled and held her as I flew us away from the undamaged testing area. The rest of the ball toss with much less impressive scores. Eri and I got the best scores in all the tests before we became flesh again. Aizawa sent me and Eri off to the support class as we were halfway flesh again. When we got to that class, only our eyes were energy. Power Loader stuttered a bit. Midoriya, who's the girl, and why are your eyes just energy? I explained what happened, and the entire class relaxed. I started to build stuff with Eri grabbing what I would ask her for. She watched and would help me out. Everyone thought it was cute, except some dude with a robotic leg. I asked Eri to grab me a certain screwdriver type. He took it from her, then tripped her. When I asked him to apologize, he didn't. I actually had to restrain Queen from killing him. Power Loader was about to get mad, but then I had an idea. How about a challenge? Power Loader's biggest problem is when he runs into a material he can't dig through. The safest and fastest method to fix it, in his opinion, wins. Deal. Robot Leg agreed and started to build what he wanted while I walked out of the room. I quickly called Guardian and asked for his help. Luckily, as an answer, I got a scroll and a new power. Apparently, Eri got one as well while I was out. I returned and began to build a much stronger version of his hero suit with some sharper scoop teeth. With it built, I backed up some and activated my new ability. My power flowed through the entire suit before I sat down and coughed a little bit. As Robot Leg finished his, I took a small nap to recharge some magic. His machine was just new scoops for his old suit with diamond tips. Power Loader wouldn't even touch them as he knew the diamond blades would shatter, hurting him. When he switched to mine, he knew this was different from his usual upgrades. He headed to a room full of tough metal, nearly unbreakable stones, and targets. I summoned a wall of my special glass replicator blocks and was accidentally on the wrong side of it. He barely tapped the obsidian with his new outfit and it sank in an inch easily. When he started to dig through it, he sent shards flying out of excitement. I, being on the wrong side, get nailed a bit. Eri screamed as she saw me bleeding. I motioned for her to calm down as I removed the shards. The wounds instantly healed, and I used magic to repair my uniform. Eri relaxed and waited for Power Loader for finish as I had my replicator handles become shields to stay safe. Power Loader apologized for getting excited, but he loved it. I took down my wall and repaired the obsidian, bedrock, and the metals he destroyed. Queen caught me with her children as I got weak suddenly. Eri ran over and hugged me as I sat in the metal chair. I returned it and chuckled. I'm fine, my snowball princess. I didn't mean to scare you. Queen thanked for the chair. I didn't expect my new feat's ultimate upgrade, ultimate repair, and unbreakable infusion to drain me so much. Queen chuckled. It's fine, King. Princess Eri, you may make your own replicator king later to help you make your own army later, okay? Just one, though, understood. Eri nodded and sat in my lap as I had the chair form multiple legs and carry me back to my workstation. Robot Leg apologized to Eri for being a JRK, and she gave him a metal rose she was working on as I made the suit for Power Loader. It's okay. If I was in your shoes, I might have done the same. I hugged my daughter, and we made some support gear to help heroes entertain kids. Luckily, Eri was able to help me test them. Everyone loved Eri, so Power Loader lets Eri stay with me in the morning and help us test child-based support stuff. On my way home with Eri, with me still in the chair, a portal appeared and another me popped out. Eri looked confused until he said, hello, what's your quirk? Also, what's with that chair? It looks epic. Queen hissed at him, stay away from King, you fake. Explain yourself before I have my children attack you. He took a step back. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm Izuku Midoriya. I am a Reaper, and my quirk is the code. I'm from another reality. I didn't mean to startle you. I smiled. So there's a lot of me out there. You know my name. This is my daughter Eri, and this is Replicator Queen. My quirk is Replicator King and a few others. This chair is actually replicators working together to support me as I regain some magic energy. I motioned for him to grab on as a platform popped out of the back of my chair. Get on and hold tight. I think Mom will want to see you. Once he was on, we took off again. Needless to say, Mom nearly fainted until Cyber, as we now call him, explained where he was from. He stayed for supper, and I explained my quirk or blessing to him. He was surprised, though, about my life, though. I wasn't even in UA fully when I saved Eri. I had a ton of quirks, and Eri has my powers, too. After supper, Eri went to bed, and I showed him my blacksmith setup and began to work the metal. He watched me in awe, and when I finished a sword made of a new metal I have been working on and painted it. After giving it a circuit pattern of a neon green with a black background using special paint, I soaked it in nitric acid, fusing the paint to the sword completely. I cleaned it up and handed it to him. Think of it as a gift. It's a new metal I have been working on. I have yet to test how strong it is, but I'm sure you can enjoy it. Cyber chuckled. Think you can make a scythe of this later. I'm a Reaper after all. I nodded and checked my scroll showing I had his quirk and all the codes he made. I sure can. I'll deliver it to you when it's done. He said bye to Mom and left saying, I hope you find a good girlfriend soon. I must warn you though, some girls have ulterior motives, so be careful. A broken heart nearly destroyed one of us. I nodded and waved bye to him. After creating a scythe for Cyber and sending it to him, I went to bed as well. I'm going to wake up early and make tools of my new metal to test it. Tomorrow will be interesting. Unlocked feats, King Replicator, Lets Izuku control Replicator and their blocks. Also lets him speak to Queen without a translator block. Ultimate Spellcaster. Can cast any spell/cantrip without materials, vocalization, or hand motions. Also unlimited spell slots. Artificer's Envy. Can make anything mechanical or magical without any problem. Even can create homebrew stuff. Unsettling Laugh. Izuku can laugh in a way to make all who hear it fear him. Only those mentally warped are immune. Best example of immunity is Nizu. Class Shift. Lets Izuku become any class from D&D. Currently an Artificer, but can become a Ranger, Fighter, Monk, etc. whenever he desires. Race Shift. Izuku can shift between any D&D race, including homebrew races. Currently a Changeling due to One for All. Replicator Morph. Become a giant human form replicator. Savior's Blessing. When saving others, you can heal those you're helping, undoing any injuries as they form. Quirk Collector. Gain a copy of any quirk you've been within a mile of. This feat is very dangerous, as you gain that quirk's drawback unless you figure out how to remove them. Battlefield Freeze. Creates a field around Izuku to stop, repair, and sometimes cause damage to whatever is in it. Ultimate Upgrade. This lets Izuku make anything better. A good example is a cheap wind-up robot toy into a fully functional robot servant. Ultimate Repair. He can fix anything that's been damaged or destroyed, making it literally new again. Unbreakable Infusion. Izuku can make anything he chooses unbreakable. I woke up early this morning and tested my new metal, enjoying the lovely patterns I could easily give it. Once I finished my tools, weapons, and a big upgrade to my replicator handles. The new nameless metal replacing the old blocks in it and reinforcing the glass as well. With the pieces colored with black and green, the first headed upstairs and woke up Eri. She got dressed while I cleaned up my forge zone. Mom made us all breakfast as Queen walked around the room. After a couple minutes, Mom used her quirk to pull her off the wall. Queen stopped that pacing and stand still. That clicking is giving me a headache. Queen nodded and walked away to sit on the couch. I then walked up, showered, and ate with everyone. With the dishes done, Eri, and I left with her on my back and my replicator board ready to go. On the way to school, Eri and I had fun. We left early to chase some squirrels and random birds. I had to fight a goose with a gooselicator. It was funny as the real goose looked completely confused at its replicator counterpart. When gooselicator honked off a train horn, the goose literally crapped itself and flew off. Some people thanked us for removing the bell-stealing menace. Eri and I arrived early, and she ran over to Power Loader. He was shocked to see Eri at first, but he smiled and picked her up in one of his scoops. I couldn't help but smile as he gave her a white and green jumpsuit. After a couple of seconds, she had it equipped, and she had a pink kitty version of his gear on. I took a quick picture and listened to them plant a garden to help out the vegetable and fruit-eating students. It could also help train plant-based quirks. Once they were outside, digging, I began to test how tough the metal I made is. I pulled a shield out of a bag of holding and placed it on a dummy. Robo-Leg chuckled. That fancy paint job won't last, bud. I smirked. I bet $3 million at last through all the tests I'm about to do. He took me up on that bet and regretted it. I used flamethrowers, missiles, bombs, guns, bullets, lasers, even different quirks, and acid against it. The way it's painted made it last through every test. After a while, he just groaned mad. Crud, I don't have $3 million. Can I do payments on it? I just chuckled and tossed him a new leg. Just try this sucker out, and I'll say you owe $200. He tried it out and was instantly amazed. It looked a lot sturdier than his current leg, yet weighed almost nothing. After running and such to adjust to it, he said, "What is this thing made of? It is so light, yet all the tests which would dent my current leg didn't even nick it." I just pointed to the shield. Same stuff, just not painted. I call it black iron. I can't really call it steel or anything else really. Also already have the metal, its special paint, and such patented already. As I spoke, a mini portal appeared and a note was put in my hand. After reading it, I just chuckled. Might try that out later. I pocketed the note and began to try out my upgraded replicator handles blade weapons. I had to make some rougher dummies out of ironwood, Kevlar, and a lot more. They cut through it all successfully, but some took longer than others. I had to test it on cement, so I had to find Cementos and ask for his help. He was shocked when his cement wall was destroyed in one swing. It took us a while to find out what could even stop the blade I made. A mix of adamantium, naquata, vibranium, and tritium, and that only slows it down unless it's thick enough to stop it. After lunch with Eri and some of my class, mates a portal appeared for a second made of shadows. Out popped another me with a skull necklace. Okay, that spell works. What's your quirk, bud? I looked at him with suspicion until he sighed. Fine. I am Izuku, Midoriya. My quirk is still kinda unknown. I'm engaged to a princess of hell, and I got visited by Cyber-Me. I chuckled. Same name, going to call my quirk DND King for now, and I just saved my now adopted daughter. We talked for a bit, and I upgraded his staff to my new metal. Thank goodness his magic is focused through the orb, and not the wood it was originally made of. I sent him back home, and we went to class with the rest greatly confused. Eri and I were playing a quick game of Rock-M, Sock-M replicators. When she One-Eye walked in and explained what we would be doing, that's when All Might entered the doorway. I am entering like a normal person. I just had my replicators mimic him, but Queen yelled, "I'm an inflatable blonde idiot." This made people look worried and confused until All Might laughed. "Hello, Queen. How's the swarm of its?" She chuckled. "Really good. Just got a few new ones last night." She returned to my shoulder and just waited there as the mimic of All Might returned to the bag. All Might walked over to me. "So, Izuku, what have you done lately?" I picked up Eri, and she had stars in her eyes. All Might meet my adoptive daughter, Eri. I saved her from overhaul. Guardian blessed her like he did me. Eri looked up at All Might and said, "No wonder he hated you. You're bigger than Rappa." "Rappa?" Eri nodded. "One of his minions. Focused on boxing and such." I pale a bit. I fought him. He has one hell of a punch. Thank goodness I was in energy form. After that, All Might explained the training today would be 2v2 and a challenge to beat the villain team. As he said that May, a classmate from the support class, ran up. May, after spotting me, Midoriya, I need some help. I borrowed some replicator blocks, and now they are ruining my table. I bolted so fast to them, I just vanished. Once I got to the desk, I saw the one she grabbed and a few horrible replicas she made. The replicas were being smashed and broken. When the originals saw me, they came running and hopped into their bag. I glared at May. Small tip you better listen to. My tech is part of my quirk, and they hate replicas. Be glad they didn't call for backup to kill you. She instantly apologized, saying she wanted to make some configurable gear anyone can use. After a bit of me scolding her, I went back to A1. I simply equipped a simple set of leather gear, goggles, and a few bottles filled with different potions I've been working on. Eri pouted a bit as she wasn't allowed to fight with me. I had to give her a VR headset version of what I used for class one day. Once she got a replicator avatar made, I had her join me to appease her. I sigh and begin to stretch some while I headed down to the hero's waiting spot with Momo and Eritar. While we waited, I asked Momo to create some simple speakers. When time was up, I didn't even have to go outside for Bakugo and Shoto to come charging at us. With a chuckle, Eritar flew among the roofs, and Momo helped me fight hand-to-hand with the villains. After about 10 minutes of us, fighting Eritar set up everything and flew away. I smirked and tossed Momo up and away. Once she was on the roof, I used Unsettling Laugh and sent it through my replicators holding the speakers. As my laugh began to reach its peak, I used an invisibly spell on myself, so I turned invisible. "I'm sorry, Todoroki, but you had to be teamed with Kachin. It's time to pay the piper, Kachin." With the duo back-to-back looking terrified, I grabbed a simple flute from Momo and began to play it. I made sure that it sounded perfect, yet filled with warped undertones. After a bit, both passed out, and Momo and I caught them easily. We took them to the observation deck, where everyone was pale and shaking. Sorry about that. Kachin was a bully for a good portion of my life. I just got even as I'm a late bloomer. The other teams did their things, and I played with Eri until they were all done. I wonder what tomorrow will bring. I glared at the bell stealing goose I scared off yesterday. It was back and about to steal a new bell. Touch that bell, and you will regret it. Eri was using her replicators to make a new goose-locator behind him as he touched the bell. The second his beak touched it, I used a changeling skill called Unsettling Visage, which instantly showed the goose my real face. As the goose backed up, the goose-locator honked a train horn, and off the JRK went again. Eri was laughing while we headed on to school. Once we got there, she and I worked on a hologram projector. At first it seemed impossible, but after a while we got it working perfectly. When we finished it, she and I played Smash Brothers Eclipse version. It may have been a silly idea, but after a bit, I created a new version of the game. The small edit let us change the fight from 2D arenas to 3D arenas. I understand why they kept it flat, but my hologram projector works much better in a 3D look. After a couple of rounds, with everyone we went to lunch. By the time lunch was over, everyone in both of my classes wanted to own one of my hologram projectors. I literally had to say no so many times Eri was getting mad. Daddy said no, so quit asking. So cute when she is mad. That's when Izawa found me at lunch. When lunch is over, grab your hero suit and head to the parking lot to go on a field trip. Eri is to stay with Nizu during it. We both nodded and finished our lunches. I handed her off to Nizu and put on my hero costume to get done. Since everyone else took their time, I was stuck waiting there for a while. I was very tempted to just sit on the bus and sleep. Soon we were all on the bus and off to wherever. Along the way, we had a lot of fun talking about our quirk when Azui asked me a question. Midoriya, what exactly is your quirk, and how did you become gray at Goose Park? I stiffened slightly. That's very complicated, but I can say this. I'm not a human anymore. I'm a changeling, a species able to shape-shift between humanoid forms. While everyone was looking at me, crazy Izawa yelled back, "You might have to show them your real look and become a tiefling and look." I smirked as I become pure gray with snow-white hair and silver eyes. While everyone's jaws dropped, I formed 2 big horns, a tail, and some claws as my skin became a dark green color. I lost my humanity physically, but my mind and heart are the same. Then to really mess with them, I became a duplicate of Azui and mimicked her usual pose. Midoriya, with such a quirk, I'm guessing you got in through recommendations, since you have what seems like multiple quirks. I say, using her voice before I change to Izawa. Due to Troubled Child's own choice, he did the entrance exam like most did. Izawa laughed as I mimicked him perfectly, scaring my classmates. After a while of them being silent, Mineta made me mad. Wait, if you can become females, become a CC one with giant tips. This made the girls glare at him, and my BLD boiled. Izawa gave me a SHD eating grin and nodded, signaling that I can do what I want him. With a smirk, I decided to pray to Guardian to help me with a prank. Thankfully, Guardian answered with a new scroll and the message that said, "Get the pervert good." With a smirk, I stood up and walked over to the pervert. Once I was next to him, I became a character called Jessica Rabbit. Is this what you wanted to see, big boy? A few of the guys wretched as the girls blushed. Once Mineta began to nod, I used my new ability on him. I changed back to normal, but I changed him in a Jessica Rabbit with a few changes. His hair stayed purple, but smoothed over to look like Jessica's hair. The great ball that are his power became a pearl necklace and bracelets, while his body went from midget to bombshell. Knowing he would attempt to explore his body, I removed all of the nerves that lead to pleasure along with those zones. With a smirk, I said, "Enjoy being a cartoon woman without any nerve endings for pleasure." That made everyone freeze in shock as we arrived at our destination. Izawa walked over to me after everyone else got off the bus. "What is that new power?" I smirked more, mimicking his SHD eating grin. "Force changeling. It lets me force someone else to shape-shift like a changeling. They have no way to change back without another's help. Thankfully, I can become stuff that doesn't exist, or Mineta would have been a real woman instead of cartoon." Izawa gave me the grin back, and we headed inside. What a start for a school field trip. Unlocked feats. King Replicator. Lets Izuku control Replicator and their blocks. Also lets him speak to Queen without a translator block. Ultimate Spellcaster. Can cast any spell/cantrip without materials, vocalization, or hand motions. Also unlimited spell slots. Artificer's Envy. Can make anything mechanical or magical without any problem. Even can create homebrew stuff. Unsettling Laugh. Izuku can laugh in a way to make all who hear it fear him. Only those mentally warped are immune. Best example of immunity is Nizu. Class Shift lets Izuku become any class from D&D. Currently an artificer, but can become a ranger, fighter, monk, etc. whenever he desires. Race Shift. Izuku can shift between any D&D race, including homebrew races. Currently a changeling due to One for All. Replicator Morph. Become a giant human form replicator. Savior's Blessing. When saving others, you can heal those you're helping, undoing any injuries as they form. Quirk Collector. Gain a copy of any quirk you've been within a mile of. This feat is very dangerous, as you gain that quirk's drawback unless you figure out how to remove them. Battlefield Freeze. Creates a field around Izuku to stop, repair, and sometimes cause damage to whatever is in it. Ultimate Upgrade. This lets Izuku make anything better. A good example is a cheap wind-up robot toy into a fully functional robot servant. Ultimate Repair. He can fix anything that's been damaged or destroyed, making it literally new again. Unbreakable Infusion. Izuku can make anything he chooses unbreakable. Force Changeling. Lets a changeling or another form of shapeshifter force a change of look, species, and more onto someone else. They can only force what they can become onto someone else. For example, if they can only become birds, that's all they can force someone else to be. With Mineta now a Jessica Rabbit clone with his quirk replacing her jewelry, we arrived at the unseen situation joint. I kept Mineta back as I let the others off. When it was just Mineta and I left, I explained what he is now, a living cartoon. He was upset a bit as he actually groped himself to feel nothing. I slapped him and then dragged him to the rest of the group, berating him with every step. What a start to a field trip. We all walked in, and the Hero 13 looked confused. Well, more like sounded confused. Their face is hidden in their costume. Why is there a purple-haired adult here? I quickly bowed. My quirk suddenly evolved again and fired off, making Mineta a purple-haired midget with a perverted streak in a Jessica Rabbit. Jessica Rabbit is a cartoon character from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Fortunately, in our case, cartoons are genderless, so he is still a male if he wants. 13 bonked me. You need to be careful with your quirk. It evolves way too much. That's when Guardian appeared in his ball form and floated nearby. I apologize for his blessing for growing so fast. As powers get mastered, new ones do form. I am Guardian, one of the many gods. Now I must explain this new ability. Izuku. If you MSTR it, you can even affect quirks on purpose. Mineta's evolved to fit his new body, but you didn't guide it. Practice enough, and you can make quirks evolve, devolve, or completely replace them with another. I must go. I'm not allowed in mortal battles. When Guardian vanished, a black portal appeared, and lots of villains popped out. I grinned. Aizawa, may I practice on them? I might be able to unlock some new powers. Queen slapped me and hissed, "Calm down, King. You may practice against replicator knights, but these are real villains." I pouted. "Fine, but if they attack me, I will turn them into skeletons." That's when a person who was covered in hands started to speak. Unfortunately, I couldn't stop Queen. "Johann FTSH, speak up. Even my super hearing can barely hear you." This made him mad as everyone else chuckled. F this SHD, kill them all. Especially that kid with the robot. Aizawa sighed. "Activate the knights, Izuku." With a smirk, I tossed my replicator bag and yelled, "Replicators, form Overlord Goblin Battalion." With that, a shower of pieces came down and formed into one of the strongest armies you'll ever see. True, even Mineta's real body is taller than the goblins, but this army can kill anyone. Once they fully formed, they announced themselves, but said King Izuku instead of what they said in the old anime. Since the video keeps getting removed, just look up Overlord Goblin Army. I smirked and yelled, "Capture them alive." They must atone for their crimes. Cast teleport barrier and perfect defense immediately. Suddenly, a huge dome covered all of my class, Aizawa, and 13 before an even bigger one surrounded the USJ. I noticed one guy in particular was panicking as I could see him try to create warp gates out of his body. With a smirk, I stuck my hand out of the dome. I call upon the gods and goddesses of sleep, dreams, and nightmares. Please grant my wish to protect my classmates and knock out our enemies. At first, nothing happened before a very violent burst of a blue gas flew out of my hand. It quickly filled the USJ and knocked every villain out, except for two. One was a mutant bird with his brain exposed, and the other was a minor god. The only reason I know is because he floated using magic like I do. So your guardian's newest toy. Don't trust him blindly. He made me and tossed me away after I decided to use his power to become stronger. I floated out of the protective dome and glared at the god. You chose a life of evil, something he is against. I will always protect those who are weak. I will give strength to those who need it. I will make evil run from my might. My name is Izuku Midoriya, king of the replicators and future guardian of mankind. I would use the Green Lantern's oath, but that would be kind of cliche right now. Instead, I will use this. Warp Gate. A gate made of energy suddenly appeared and swallowed the minor god before vanishing. I fell into the dome and panted as Queen created another replicator wheelchair/throne. I overdid it. I'm so tired. Sorry, Minetta. I can't undo the change I did to your body today. I promise to undo it tomorrow first thing. Minetta sighed and glared. If you can't undo it, can you at least let me feel some pleasure? I groaned, the girls hit him, and Aizawa glared. I gave you an indestructible body that needs nothing to exist. I will grant you the nerves, but that will make it a week before I can undo the changes. If men try stuff, it's your own fault. I dodged a few flying punches by having my replicator chair scoot backwards. Why is it always me? Apparently, the sleeping gas didn't stay after I send the godling away. The first to wake up was Hand FTSH, and the first thing he yelled was, "Nomu killed the brat on the throne." That's when the purple bird thing started to attack me. Goblins keep everyone else knocked out. I'll deal with Mr. Noma here. As Hand FTSH and any other thug who woke up gets knocked out again, I lead Nomu to a big flat area. Once there, I cast a homebrew spell called Shell Recovery. According to the website, the target gets reset to full HP, spell slots, etc. Once the spell activates, I watch as bits of my body fall off like a plaster mold. When it was finally done, I am fully reset and ready to fight. The next punch from Nomu, I easily stopped with one finger. Your quirks are super strength, regeneration, and I guess since her hand didn't break, shock absorption. All three have a limit, but I don't. Shall I show you those limits? I smirk evilly as I began to change my appearance. The first thing to change was my hands as I created thick emerald claws. When they fully formed, I had my skin become jade and reinforced with gold-colored vibranium. Just to really dig into point, I grew to the same size as Nomu. Say hello to Obliteration Jade. Nomu, are you ready to fight? The screech from the Noma shook me a bit, but I took it as a yes. I let the sucker punch me for about a minute before I slapped him into the fake mountain. Crud, I meant to. Hold back. I hope I didn't already kill it. The following screech and flying rocks told me it was still alive. With a chuckle, I jumped to it and yelled, "Jade no," like Screaming Bird. Jade smash Screaming Bird. As I put my hands together and brought them down, I could see the confusion on everyone's face as I made a quote no one recognized. After binding Nomu in magical rope, I changed back to normal and walked over. What? No one watch old hero movies. Seriously, Hulk has inspired some people with quirks that somewhat match what he has. They all groan in annoyance as they realize who I was imitating. I got a few light-hearted punches, and we were all interrogated by the cops who arrived soon after. I collected my Goblin Army replicators as each villain and thug was arrested until we got to Mr. Warpgate. I know you. I recognize you now. You used to be friends with my father. If I remember right, you're Kurojiri. The yellow smoke that was his eyes widened. Izuku Midoriya, is that you? How do you have a quirk? I know your father took your quirk before it formed. I froze, and so did the few that heard him. Excuse me, what did you just say? Kurojiri looked worried. Your father didn't hang himself. He faked his death and took your quirk at the same time. I am his butler due to him giving me a stabilization quirk that helps my Warpgate quirk. I grabbed Kurojiri by his metal-covered throat and growled. Where is he? Kurojiri and everyone around me freaked out, thinking I was about to kill someone. After a long, awkward silence, Kirojiri told me where. After dropping him, I changed my neta back to normal, marched out of the USJ, became a gargoyle, and flew to where my father is. Time for a long, overdue reunion. I easily removed the roof from the building and dropped in. What I saw in front of me really made me mad. My father was currently having fun with a few new women. "Who are you, and why have you broken in my bedroom?" I growled. "Does the name Inko mean something to you?" His expression was priceless. "Izuku, is that you? How do you have a quirk? I took yours before it manifested." This made me even angrier. Realizing what he said, my father tries to backtrack with the usual weak villains. "I did it for your own good. I wanted to hide you from the heroes. I didn't want you to die because you're my son." After a good number of them, I grabbed him by the neck. "What did you take from me?" My body began to form a stone shell, so his quirk-stealing ability can't work on me. What he said next shocked me some. "I removed your quirk, which would have let you completely delete any quirk you wanted. Make heroes or villains quirkless. Do you understand why I took it?" In a bit of a daze, I dropped him, and he tried to delete my powers, and one for all. His eyes glowed, so I created a reflective stone mirror on my arm and sent it back at him, making him quirkless. As he mourned his loss of power, I dragged him to All Might, who was currently at USJ. I dropped off my father and growled at him. "Listen to the heroes, police, and the guards of whatever prison you end up in. They might protect your now quirkless, but you BSDRD. Bakugo dragged me away and began to hum a tune his mother used to sing to us at sleepovers. I slowly relaxed and changed to normal. "Thank you." I was about to make him dead for real. My classmates and I were lead to school after I asked the police to go easy on Kirojiri. When they asked why, I told them that my dad, the worthless some I am related to, blackmailed him into doing it. They understood and said they would try their best. Once we got to UA, my mom ran over and checked to see if I'm okay. I told her everything, including that I found Scumbag in bed with another woman. She was heartbroken, and we both went home where we created a new game. It's called Cheater Smash. All you do is destroy stuff you got from a cheater, and the better the destruction, the higher points you get. Eri was unfortunately confused, but I made the game also into quirk training for her. She would repair different items, and we would destroy it again. This made us all tired, and by the end of the day, no one wanted to kill Scumbag. Well, Queen wanted to make him into an acid puddle. Oh well, maybe we can have a better day tomorrow. I yawned and stretched before Queen could act like an alarm clock and gently woke up Eri. "Morning, Daddy. Is it breakfast time?" Eri asked as I woke her. I chuckled and nodded as her hammock was lowered so she could get out. I swapped clothes and headed downstairs to find Mom cooking breakfast. "Morning, hun. Did you sleep well?" Mom asked when she heard me come down. I shrugged and set the table before helping her finish making breakfast. She looked very envious of my replicator handles as they swapped between spatula, knife, ladle, and more as needed. When I noticed, I thought for a bit and looked at Queen, who was currently on the ceiling. She shook her head until a new scroll popped up next to me. I gently grabbed it and read it completely. "Mom, do you want to be a replicator Duchess? It will let you use my replicator handles, control all, but Queen and the King replicator Eri can make, and use the spells on runic replicators." She nodded so fast, I instantly remembered how I reacted to watching that old All Might video. With that, I gave her the ability and a small replicator bag. With a smile, "I will make you the handles and runic replicators later." She hugged me and finished making breakfast as Eri came down. After she made her high chair, we all ate and cleaned up the dishes. I was about to head to school when Mom reminded me we had the day off thanks to yesterday. Instead of cheering in joy, I groaned. "Seriously, I may be able to make anything. I do need some of the better tech in the school support department to make stuff." My groan got me an earful until Eri walked over and said she wanted to play. Who could deny this cutie? Mom, Eri, and I decided to play a game of snakes and ladders. It's a simple game, so it was easy to teach Eri. Luckily, she won, and then saw a commercial on TV about a show with kittens on it. We couldn't pull her away, and she started to ask me to get her a kitten. Mom and I both said no, but after a while I thought of something. After getting Eri to calm down, I got to work in the garage. After a few hours of forging metal, I created a reply kitty. The kitten-based replicator had fake fur, digital eyes, and claws so sharp it can almost cut time. With it done, I brought it out to Eri, who was happy at first. When she realized it was another replicator, she got mad at me, so I had to do plan B. I got in a bit over my head adopting her, but hey, no one is perfect. When she calmed down enough to listen, I had her use an ability of ours. She slowly grew a snow-white tail, cat ears, and the odd Nico paws that the wild pussycats have. She was happy, and we were glad she calmed down, until she somehow climbed up the wall and hung from the ceiling. We got her down, scolded her, and punished her for climbing the wall. It wasn't even noon yet, and I wanted to return to bed. Little did I know it was going to keep going downhill. We ate lunch with Eri learning to use simple silverware, and the door was busted down by a random villain. Before he could even get his head into the door, Queen attacked. She absorbed a lot of other replicators temporarily and formed a fist to punch him into the car across the street unconscious. I got up and used a binding spell on him, so he couldn't move until the police arrived. Of course, I almost got in trouble until they recognized me. I put down Eri for a nap, and suddenly another idiot broke into my house. This time I dealt with her with extreme prejudice. Her foot didn't even touch the floor good when I had her bound to the wall. Quirk stopped, gagged, and her pockets emptied. When I read her ID, I let her go. May Hatsum, why the F are you breaking into my garage? She apologized and said she hoped to find my black iron recipe to make her own stuff stronger. After helping her make her own metal alloy, which is unique, she was invited to stay for supper. Mom, of course, assumed we were dating, and I told her I don't date thieves. When supper was over, the four of us played a few simple games and sent May back home. Eri had fun, I was annoyed, and Mom was exhausted. Now hopefully tomorrow will not be a crazy day. I gently woke up Eri again, and we both had breakfast before some idiot broke in. This flame-bearing, second-best, dumpster fire was Endeavor. He grabbed me and growled as he dragged me outside. I let him until we got halfway down the sidewalk before I had replicator blocks grab me and keep me in place. Excuse me, Endeavor, but may I know why you're trying to make me leave my home? I literally have done nothing wrong, and I just woke up. Instead of telling me, he tried to melt the blocks, holding me in place. After a few minutes, I got annoyed as hell and finally yelled, "Tell me why you are annoying me now, or else you stupid dumpster fire of a hero." I glared and used a razor from Izuku to end his stupid flames. He panicked at first until he saw my hair floating. So you copied his quirk. Now you're under arrest for illegal quirk usage. I was then causing me to pass out instantly. When I came back to, I was in a jail cell with anti-quirk systems, closed-circuit air supply, and padded walls. Basically any shape-shifting, fluid/gas form quirk's worst enemy. After a few minutes of waiting, the door opened, revealing Endeavor holding a gun. "You need to die. My son must become the #1 hero." I couldn't hold in my laughter as I secretly turned his gun into wood. "You're doing this for your son." "I don't think so. I can see your rivalry with All Might all over your face. Also, I'm not going to be a hero. I'm already a demigod." As I laughed, he tried to shoot me with his now toy wooden toy. When he realized it wasn't working, he freaked out as I activated a quirk I copied. It was similar to Kimui Wood's quirk, but can affect only acacia wood, which I did make the gun into. The gun quickly grew vines and branches tying up the now quirkless dumpster fire. As he fought to get free, I knocked him over. "Think about what you tried to do, you abusive, narcissistic, arrogant dumpster fire." With that, I left and closed the door. I walked through the police station until I got to Detective Naomasa Tsukachi's office. "Hey, Detective. Anyways, prepare your quirk, as I'm in no mood to joke around. Endeavor just dragged me here after breaking into my house and tazzing me. I woke up in the cell, and Endeavor just tried to kill me, so his kid will be the next All Might since he can't beat him. He is currently bound by acacia wood that grew from his weapon I transmuted into wood." He groaned and started to wave me off. After it sunk in, he stood up. "Endeavor tried to kill you. Does he want your MOM to go crazy?" I shuddered a bit as the memory of my mom destroying the news station after they said I was a villain resurfaced. I didn't think of that, but Mom got a power boost. She now has the ability to control replicators, and I also made her quirk stronger, so you might want to put him in protective custody until she calms down. I better go. We both ran out of the office and headed our two different directions. Luckily, I was able to stop Mom from raiding the police station Endeavor's Agency, and the Hero Commission. Why is it always me? I swear it's always me who gets targeted by these idiotic villains wanting my tech for their gang. They have been relentless for the week-long break I've had from school. So many idiots, so many times I've explained the replicators, and so many, but I've had a break. Even Eri has gotten better at controlling her army to help fight. My mom, Eri, and I can easily defeat an army each with no trouble. After eating my breakfast, I put Eri on my back, formed a replicator board HRNSS to keep her on my back, and formed a new version of my replicator board. This one is known by everyone who messed with me in the past week. It actually has a path painted by the Hero Association to warn everyone. Once I'm done forming it, I head out of the garage and smirk as the shark board is formed. In its plain defensive mode, it's just a simple fish similar to a koi. When I activate its attack mode is where it gets its name. Its mouth goes from clear glass windshield into a toothy grin that spins like a crazy food disposal system. Luckily, I can heal people from near death, or I'd be a mass murderer. Anyways, I drove to school with people leaving the painted lane and recording me. Once we arrived, I disassembled my shield and entered the classroom. We were to grab what we wanted to use in the sports festival. I only grabbed my replicator handles I've made out of pure black iron and black iron-infused glass. Well, I also grabbed a new replicator bag I've been working on, but that's kind of given. I gave Eri to Nizu to watch over before we all forced to march into the arena with all the other classes. After marching and listening to Bakugo give a stupid, rage-causing provocation of speech, it pissed off everyone except me, as I already knew he would do it. When everyone was done booing, we lined up at the starting line of the obstacle course. I had already planned my move as I prepared to spawn a non-lethal version of my shark board. The race started, so I went into full speed mode, playing a certain song on full blast to PSS people off. I went through Shoto's giant wall of ice easily and ate one of 3 0-pointers that appeared. When it came to the giant chasm with pillars, I just launched but over it using a tail slam. Unfortunately, I hit a very deserving grape-headed JRK who grabbed my board the second it formed and stuck him into the ground. Okay, it was on purpose, but I pretended I didn't know. He had the guts to grope girls around me. I just bulldozed my way through the minefield and got to the finish line where I napped for a little bit. When the people who finished got through, we found out the twist that I got 1,000,000 points and a big target on my back. Instead of pouting, I just worked on my own and in my shark board dug into the ground. This time, whenever I attacked, only the board's head would poke out. Mostly it was to taunt and scare, so each time I yelled, "Heite ka," shark head. I, of course, won with many profanities shot my way, and I was instantly put in first place for the entire event with a lot of people arguing against it. Eventually, they shut up when I let them all fight me at once. Instead of forming an army or a giant mecha, I just formed 4 simple robotic arms on my back like an ancient villain called Dr. Ock. Needless to say, they all lost as I read a book. It was boring the entire time. Well, I did get a lot of numbers afterwards, so maybe not a total loss. I drudged my way into the classroom with Eri on my back. As I passed Kachin's desk, I place her on it, play with Uncle Blasty for a bit. She pouted at first, but played some small games of tic-tac-toe as I napped. The sports festival was really tiring for me, and last night, I had tons of calls. Mostly people asked if they can my replicator tech. The phone is probably still ringing at home. I learned this afterwards, but when Aizawa walked in, he looked at me confused. Why is Midoriya asleep in my classroom and not in the support classroom? Eri answered, "Idiots keep calling asking for replicator tech, Dad. Was up all night because of it." Everyone then decided to stay quiet and let me sleep with a couple taking extra notes for me. They did all the lessons until lunch before they woke me up. I accepted their notes and reviewed them all while I ate. After lunch, Aizawa explained the internships and that we all had to do them. I groaned and dropped my head on my desk, breaking it completely, causing me to end up on the floor. "Okay, problem child. Why did you break the desk?" I groaned again. "May I skip the internship, please? I don't want to deal with people asking for my Quirk's tech anymore." He sighed. "I can't let you skip them, but since you are in support, I will ask Nizu for his opinion." Speak of the devil, and they will appear apparently also works on Nizu. Midoriya can stay in the support class instead of going on internship, but he must go with you to Hosen next week. There's still the tech bandit at large there. I silently cheered from the ground and just laid there as everyone else did, sorted through their invites. Nizu then walked over to me. As payment for this, I expect my own car. I'm sure you have something in mind. I had to refrain from making a Stuart little joke, but eventually nodded. He then left, and I took Eri down to the support classroom. Sorry I'm late, power loader. Phone's been crazy after the sports festival, and I needed a nap. He laughed. I understand, kid. If I didn't know it was your quirk, I'd be calling too. Nizu called saying you're making him a custom car. I nodded, and Eri went to her custom desk, where she tested the kid-related support gear. I headed to a side room and looted it for a lot of different materials. Some RBEB to make into wheels, vibranium for the axles and car chassis, titanium for the metal exterior, soundproofing foam, glass, and LEDs for headlights. After I grabbed that, I put it in my area and went up to Nizu where I got his measurements, a DNA sample, and that he loves the more energetic music. With that done, I got to work. I spent the next week just working on Nex's custom vehicle. My classmates were surprised with what all was going on it. As I finished it, I had Eri help me paint it. When I wasn't looking, I had her paint neon pink cat whiskers on a certain big of it before I had the paint bonded to the vehicle. With it done, I carried it up to Nizu, since no one else can drive it. I put it in his office and smirked as he got in. Once he was in and turned it on by having it scan his body and DNA, he rolled down a window. Okay, this is good so far, but can you explain the 3 buttons here? I nodded. The one with the microphone on it lets you use a speaker to talk like a police car, but much clearer. The blue one is a special nose mixture I made for you. Be careful when you touch it. The final one has a few modes, so can you please drive to Site Gamma to show it off? He then drove off like a bat out of hell, with the speaker on projecting his creepy, maniacal laughter. Needless to say, I'm glad I made janitor bots and sent them out before this, as many people, both student and staff, made a mess of themselves. I quickly chased after him and caught up to him at Site Gamma. That's when I began to explain the last button. Nizu, the red button, has the ability to SWCH the Nizu battler between its 3 modes. One is normal mode, where it's an average bulletproof car. Press it for mode 2, please. After he pressed it, the car became spiked, got extra plating, and a mini rocket thruster in the back. This is rammer mode. This can be used to protect you or to break down walls. Just please avoid load-bearing walls. I moved out of the way as he completely destroyed a couple buildings, just driving through them and using the super strength nose for time. That when I explain the button, will default swapping between these 2 modes, as I wanted his final mode as a trump card and rarely used. With that said, I told him activate it and watched as he formed his own mecha. Of course, when the face formed, I couldn't help but laugh my butt off. It looked like a 6-foot-tall Nizu robot with neon pink cat whiskers. What's so funny, Midoriya? I chuckled. Sorry, Nizu, I think Eri may have added pink whiskers to your mech form. Unfortunately, they can't be undone since I bonded the paint to the metals. I formed a mirror, and he laughed some before he tested out the mecha's many uses. Unfortunately, all are destructive, so by the end of the day, nothing was left standing in Site Gamma, except for Nizu and I. I'd say it was a productive week shrinking down so much tech, but unproductive cause Nizu got it all. Thank you for joining us on this journey through What If Deku Had DND Quirk. We hope you found it as captivating as we did. A big thank you to Lotus Moonveil for creating such an engaging story. Don't forget to visit their profile on Wattpad for more fantastic works. The link is in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Zenin Fanfics for more intriguing explorations into fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we love hearing your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section. See you soon in the next video.